here because our freedoms are dwindling. The leaders who were allowed in the national election debates all seem the same. And in fact, they all seem to be trying to out-Trudeau. And the establishment censorship doesn't allow the nation to hear an alternative voice. They were all the same at the leadership debates. They all want to control us through UN mandates, making us subject to unelected entities, high taxes which erode our prosperity, and draconian COVID measures. We need to end any obligation to the UN. Provinces need much more control over our tax collection and how that money is spent. And we need a rational approach to COVID. This week, I've heard more stories of families being divided because of the politicization of COVID. They're making a sickness political. So what we need to do is pray for each other that forgiveness and acceptance will return to our families. I had a person this past week tell me that he felt unvaccinated people should not be treated if they get COVID. Friends, this makes a segregated society. What should the decision to care for one another be based on? Judgment and discrimination? Is it really about vaccination status? Where does this end? Should we decide who gets treated based on political views or religious beliefs? Or what about the color of one's skin? Where does it end? Well, we're saying no, we must care for one another because it's the right thing to do without discrimination. And my friends, a wise man once said, "My words are my only weapon." Be aware of how these slippery, detrimental comments get thrown around about denying one another basic help, because they plant the seeds of division and dehumanization. When the tyrants try to convince you that tyranny equals safety, make your own words your weapons and tell them that schools do not own our children. Tell them that governments do not own our bodies. Do not trade your informed consent for $100. We must exercise our freedoms or lose them. Vote for these ideals. For tyranny is insatiable, and only wisdom and reason will lead us back to honorable society. And to those at the CBC, I'm referencing a philosopher named Plato here, not some fringe group from the States. They're accused of that, yeah. We are ready to demand our freedom, and we ask for a leader. We have a man who has given his time, traveled thousands of miles, and sacrificed many things that we will never even know about in the quest for the preservation of our freedom. As the corruption in the establishment government and the establishment media is showcased this election, we are ready to welcome a leader who is anti-establishment. We are ready to welcome Maxime Bernier.
That's the end of a nice day here in Alberta. I had the opportunity to meet a lot of people and to tell them our story, why we are here, what is our vision for this country. And we are here tonight because we know that without freedom, there's no human dignity, there's no equality of rights, there's no economic prosperity. Without freedom, that is the foundation of our civilization. Without freedom, we cannot achieve our dreams. We cannot be a prosperous country. And this country has been one of the freest countries in the world for more than 150 years. And now our freedoms are under attack. Attack, yes, by the liberals. Yes, also, we must admit, by the conservatives. because what O'Toole is doing now, speaking like a liberal, acting like a liberal, having the policies of a liberal, he is giving a lot of credibility to that leftist narrative. There's no difference right now with the Conservative Party of Canada and the Liberal Party of Canada. And we must look at it. We must look at it looking at their platform. Everything that you think is very important for the future of your province, for the future of this country, O'Toole will do the opposite. And having a minority liberal government or a minority conservative government, it won't change. O'Toole flip-flop on every important issues for you and for the country. I can start with the climate change. He said no to a carbon tax, and now he's saying yes to a carbon tax. I can speak about pipelines. He was supposed to be for pipelines, and now he's like Trudeau. He said, no, I won't do everything to be able to build pipelines in this country. He said that actually said that he won't build pipelines. I believe it's important for you. I believe it's important also for Eastern Canadians, people in Montreal, people in New Brunswick. They know that a pipeline will create jobs. And people in Quebec actually, not the Quebec government, but people, the real people in Quebec, they know that it's safer for the environment and safer for the population to transport oil and gas by pipelines instead of by trains or by trucks. And we have pipelines in Quebec, so if you have the courage of your conviction, it will be easy to convince Quebecers to accept pipelines. But actually, we don't need to go there. We just need to use the Constitution, Section 9210, and if you use the Constitution and you pass a law saying that this pipeline is for the advantage and the national security of our country, when you think that the federal government will have full jurisdiction, full authority, and he will be the only one that will be able to approve pipelines. So a province, Quebec, New Brunswick, or they can say no to that, but they won't be able to stop the pipeline because it is under the federal jurisdiction when you use that constitution. And actually, in the history of our country, the federal government used more than 100 times that section in the constitution for what? To build our national infrastructures, railways, to build our national infrastructure so we can use it for a national pipelines. So that's O'Toole. He's the same on pipelines, on climate change. I said it, he will impose a carbon tax. On not balancing the budget. He won't balance the budget in 10 years. He said that he will do that in 10 years. But when we asked him more details about that, he said, I will do it, but without cuts, without cutting any expenses. So what he's saying the same thing that Justin Trudeau said a couple of years ago, that the budget balances itself. And he's supposed... and he's supposed to be a conservative. I can go on the equalization formula. You are fed up with that, you are tired, and you have a reason, and you want that formula to change and to be fair and less generous, to give the right incentive for have-not provinces to develop their own natural resources that they have. But with that formula that is too generous, they won't do it. But O'Toole won't speak about that. He won't speak about it, and knowing that in Western Canada, there's Western alienation. People are tired. People want to change. But he won't speak about that. And that's important to change that formula. Yes, for a more fair formula for every province, but also for the unity of our country. So you have, I don't know how many conservative MPs in Alberta here, but they're doing zero, niet for you. The party is a leftist party. The only thing that they will tell you, and we don't see them during this campaign, they don't want to do door to door, because they know that when you're asked these questions, they don't have an answer. And if they're telling you what I'm just telling you about, oh yes, we must build pipeline, they can tell you that in private. But you know how to judge a politician? When the politician is saying something that you like in private, just ask him or her if he can say that publicly. If he cannot, it's because he or she does not believe in that. And O'Toole said this week to all his candidates across the country, if you don't follow the party line, if you don't speak about what is in our platform, you will be thrown out of the caucus. You won't be a member of the Conservative caucus anymore. That's why your candidates, your Conservative candidates, are very quiet for this election. The only thing that they're telling you, oh, don't vote for the PPC, you will split the vote. That's the only argument, splitting the vote. So they think that you're stupid. They think that you're stupid, that you will do always the same mistake and think that everything will change. They are taking your vote for granted. And I'm doing politics differently. I think that you are intelligent. I don't try to appeal to your emotions. I try to appeal to your intelligence. Yes, we are a populist party, but a smart populist party. We have a vision for this country. So about splitting the vote, do you really believe that you'll be able to elect a liberal here in Alberta? We don't split any vote. O'Toole, his only job, and for being a conservative right now, is to do the opposite of a real conservative. Why? Because we are in a socialist era everywhere in Canada. And it's not popular to speak about real conservative ideas. So we won't speak about that. He's going to the left, and he's speaking like a liberal, and he has policies like a liberal. So O'Toole, his only job in this election is to split the leftists and the liberal votes. That's what he's doing. We don't split any vote, because the choice that you'll have here in Alberta, it's between a conservative MP, conservative candidate, that is winning by 75%, 80%. Do you really believe that if you vote for the PPC, you know, it will be us or it will be them? It will be a conservative that will win your riding, or it will be a People's Party. It will be a fake conservative, or it will be a real conservative that believes in. And we will start with our candidates, that common sense revolution in Ottawa. And our candidates in Eastern Canada, they're going to say the same thing that your candidate here. I'm saying the same thing in French for pipelines. I'm saying the same thing in New Brunswick for the equalization. You know, it's not because it's a little bit less popular to speak about the equalization formula in Atlantic Canada that I won't speak about that. My job as a politician, I believe, maybe I'm wrong, but I believe that I have the best solution, the best vision of this country based on 4 principles: individual freedom, personal responsibility, respect, and fairness. Yes. Yes, we want to respect the Constitution. We want to give more autonomy to every province, not only Quebec. Why in Quebec they can have their police force, their pension fund, their caisse de dépôt? No, you can have that here in Alberta because it's in line with our Constitution. Let's have a smaller government in Ottawa that will respect the Constitution. By doing that, what will happen, it will be a radical decentralization, and Alberta will be able to have the same power that Quebec. In Quebec, they can decide their immigration. They can choose their immigrants. Why you cannot do that here in Alberta? You know, that's our position. We want provinces to be able to have the resources for their responsibility, and we don't want the federal government to interfere in provincial jurisdiction. So what I'm saying in Quebec or Atlantic Canada about the equalization, it may not be that popular, but it's not because an idea is not popular that that idea is not just and true. And an idea does not become just and true because it's popular. But I can tell you our platform and our freedom ideas are just and true, and they will become popular because we are speaking about that openly with passion and conviction all across the country. So that's our way of doing politics. And the platform of the PPC is the same one that we had at the last election, and it will be the same one at the next election until we win our battle of ideas, our ideological revolution. That's our goal. So you need to have a real common sense, conservative voice in Ottawa. We just need to have one voice, and we'll start that revolution. Now we're supposed to be, around 10% in the polls. We started at 1.6%, and now at 10%. And now, by the way, some of the mainstream media, they are started to follow our campaign, the last week. They ignore us during all these elections, and they gave more visibility to the Green Party of Canada when they have only 240 candidates across the country. We have 312 candidates across the country. The Green Party that is around 3-4% in the poll since the beginning of this campaign. And we started at 2, like I said, and now we're maybe at 10. We are the story of this election. And I can tell you, only one voice, we will start that revolution. But I strongly believe that we will be more than one. We'll have more than one candidate elected, for sure. And we will ask the real questions in Ottawa. We will speak about what we believe. We will use the parliamentary commissions to have the real debate. And the mainstream media will be in the position to give us more coverage, more visibility. They didn't do that during this campaign because they know that common sense can be powerful. And they know that our ideas are very powerful. And they didn't want to give us some more visibility because they know that if we can reach more people, we'll have more support. But we didn't have any coverage from them, and we are growing. And it's not because of me, it's because of you. It's because of people like you. I said in the beginning of the campaign that at the last election we had 300,000 votes. If each one of these voters can speak to 10 new voters, we will be at 3 million votes. And if we have 3 million votes, we will be around at 16% in the polls. So I think it's working because we are growing, and there's still 1 week, and I believe that more people are speaking to their friends, to their family, to their co-workers about the PPC. Because still, many people don't know that we exist. They don't know that there's an alternative to the mainstream and establishment political parties that are all the same on these important issues. So we are there, and we won't change. I'm telling you that. That platform is there. It will be the same platform at the next election because we are doing politics based on ideas and on principles. And I believe that the Western civilization values are the best one. And I'm telling you, it's not all culture are not equal. That's the reality. The Western civilization culture is the best one that will create more prosperity. So don't waste your vote with the conservative. Or you may say, I want to vote conservative because, I want to get rid of Justin Trudeau. And you will replace him by what? By another Trudeau? The same policy? We don't. It's not important. If you don't vote for what you believe, you won't have what you want. It's simple like that. So we have great candidates all across the country that are ready to work with you and for you. We don't do any polling and focus group. That's why when I'm speaking about survey and polling, I'm speaking about the ones that are public. We don't spend money for that. I'm not there to tell you what you want to hear, but I'm pretty sure that you like what I'm saying. But you like what I'm saying? You like what I'm saying because it's the only way to save our country. To be honest, and having policies that are based on facts, on science, on common sense. And that's what we are doing. And speaking about COVID-19 hysteria, I said that since the beginning of that crisis. Maybe after a month. I must admit, it took me a month to realize that all that was not based on science. And now, I said in the beginning, and we did the End the Lockdowns National Caucus with Randy Hillier, a member of the Legislative Assembly in Ontario. Randy is working with us for this campaign and helping us, and his daughter, Chelsea, she's one of our candidates in Ontario. And when we start, Randy and I, the first rally against the lockdown, that was not that popular. We had maybe 100 people at our rally, but we knew that that was not based on science, and the only thing to do is to fight for what we believe. And we did it. And the last rally in Montreal, when I was there, the 1st of May, we had 50,000 people on the street. So when you speak about what you believe, openly with passion and conviction, you can be successful. So now, maybe we're only at 10% in the poll, or 11 or 8. But imagine, after 3 years, a young party from 1.6 to 10, that's historical. Look at the Reform Party at that time. How many elections it took for Preston Manning to be the leader of the opposition? He didn't do that in his first one, and not in his second one. So, if you like our platform, I must admit that 90% of our platform is based on the Blue Book, the Reform Party of Canada Blue Book. That was their platform. For the older people here, you may know what I'm saying. That's why you like that platform, and I really appreciate Preston Manning. Because Preston Manning was doing politics based on his conviction. And the only mistake that he did at the end of his career was to merge with the Canadian Alliance, and after that the Progressive Conservatives, and now they created a central-left political party, and now the Conservatives are a leftist party. My promise to you, we won't merge. We are there to fight for our ideas, and we will never merge. So I was speaking about the COVID hysteria. So we started in the beginning. And why? Because, like I said, we believe in individual freedom. We don't believe in a big fat government in Ottawa that will tell you what to do with your life. We have faith in people. We have faith that you have the ability, the dignity, and the right to make your own decisions and determine your own destiny. We don't want a big government in Ottawa telling you that there's no Christmas this year, you cannot see your family, and you know a small business must be closed, but Walmart can be open. Where is the logic? There's no logic there. And now in Quebec right now, the vaccine passport is in force. So I decided, because I look at the data, I decided not to take the vaccine. I'm 58 years old. I'm 58 years old, and after more than 19 months, and a man, 58 years old, my chances to die if I have COVID is 0.5%. So my survival rate is 99.5%. So by looking at the data, I said, I'll take a chance. I think it's a good risk. But we respect people that decided to have the 2 shots. That was the decision. We respect that. We're not anti-vaccine, we're not anti-mask, we are for freedom of choice. Everybody must be able to decide by themselves. Yeah. Must be able to decide if they want to have a mask or if they want to take the vaccine. That's their personal choice, and that's what we do. We are respecting people on that. And by the way, now we have more support because people who took the 2 shots, and in Quebec now they have the vaccine passport, they thought that by doing that, they are protecting themselves. And I agree with that. If you have the vaccine, if you have COVID, you'll have mild symptoms. I understand that. But the government was telling them, you must take the vaccine for yourself, that's right, but also for your loved ones, for your community. That was a lie. That was a lie because we know right now that everybody, vaccinated people, unvaccinated people, can spread the virus. We are in the same boat. So why doing discrimination, segregation? In Quebec right now, I cannot go to a restaurant, I cannot go to a teacher, I cannot fully participate in civil society. But you know what? I can go to my church. Where is the logic? There's no virus in my church and the virus is everywhere in a restaurant? That's crazy. So why am I able to go to my church? Because the Catholic Church in Quebec was very active and they did a good lobbying. That's only that. That's not based on science. So, and now they're telling us that more and more people must take the vaccine for opening the economy. And when we know that in other countries, it's maybe 70% of the population is vaccinated in the UK and other countries, and they are opening the country. And the good news now, in UK, today, they were supposed to impose a vaccine passport, and Boris said no to that. But here you have the conservative, yes, O'Toole. Don't tell me that O'Toole is against a vaccine passport. Maybe their candidates here are saying that because they know that it's popular and they're doing politics based on survey, like I told you. But the leader is saying the opposite. And the platform of the party is the opposite. Actually, one of their candidates in Yukon said publicly that he's against a vaccine passport, and O'Toole said, okay, you cannot run under the conservative banner. You cannot be part of us. So now that candidate in Yukon is running as an independent, and I believe that he will win his election. So O'Toole, like Trudeau, he said we need a registry on vaccinated people, you know, and we are for the vaccine passport, like Jack Mead, like the Green Party, like the Bloc Québécois. They're all there promoting a vaccine passport, and as you know, Trudeau is ready to spend $1 billion that we don't have to be sure that provinces will impose a vaccine passport. It is reality in Quebec, it will become a reality in Ontario, and all across the country. So, I don't want to live in a country when you have to show your papers every time, and I believe that people who decided to take the 2 shots didn't know that their vaccine passport has an expiration date, maybe in 8 months, when they will ask, when the government will ask them to take a 3rd shot, a 4th one, and a 5th one. That was not the deal in the beginning. And we know that would happen, because Trudeau said that he bought for $60 million the booster shot until 2024. So it will happen. It will happen. And that's why more people are coming on our side, because we are the only party that will fight for our freedom. And they understand that. That's why when I'm doing a rally in New Brunswick in Atlantic Canada, where they voted Liberals, we have a lot of people that are coming, because that's important for them. They know that we are the only party that will fight for their rights and their freedoms, and they're coming on side because they don't want to live in a kind of a communist country when you travel you have to show a paper. I'm proud to be Canadian. I have 1 passport, and I will show that passport when I'm traveling outside the country and not inside. That's the question of this election. This election, and I agree with Justin Trudeau, I think it's the first time and the last time, when he said, when he launched the election Sunday, a couple of weeks ago, he said, the election is important right now because I believe that I did a good job managing the COVID-19 crisis, and I want Canadians to judge me on that. And yes, Mr. Trudeau, we will judge you on that. You created the biggest deficit in our history, $354 billion, by shutting down the economy. And some people say, oh, Maxime, it's not true what you're saying, because the lockdowns were not coming from the federal government, it was at the provincial level. So why are you saying that? I'm saying that because Trudeau is responsible. Do you really believe that provincial governments will have shut down their economy if they didn't receive any money from the federal government? Yeah. Trudeau gave them money to pay for their financial economic loss because of this lockdown, and Trudeau gave grants to businesses that didn't want that, they just want to be open, grant and subsidies to businesses and to individuals. That's why these provincial governments were able to do lockdowns. But we won't do that, so they won't be able to do more lockdowns because we won't give them any money. But that's why we did that fight, and Trudeau is responsible of that, and he will be judged on that. And Canadians understand that when Trudeau said to his civil servant in Ottawa, working for the federal government, that if you don't take the vaccine passport, if you don't have the 2 shots, there will be, and I quote, there will be consequences. So, translation, I will punish you if you don't take the 2 shots. My answer to that, we will punish you, Justin Trudeau, the 20th of September. And now, because he's doing that, big corporations, big private corporations, want to impose a vaccine passport to their employees. Not only the federal government, they're following the federal government. Under our watch, it would be impossible for them to do that because we will do like the governor of Florida, Governor DeSantis, and we will pass a law to tell them that it is illegal, unconstitutional, and if they're doing that, we will bring them in from the court. Because our role at the federal level is to protect our rights and our Charter of Rights, and we will do that so nobody, no more discrimination if you want to go to a store or a restaurant like we have right now in Quebec. And that's the reality. That's the reality. And I believe that they started that the 1st of September, and I can tell you that since that date, my people in Quebec, our team, are telling me that the party is growing because people who took the vaccine, they're tired to have their iPhone every time they are at restaurant and asking for, and it's your personal health information. And by the way, if your employer is asking you if you have your 2 shots, your responsibility is to not answer that question because it's your personal private health information. And you must have that discussion only with your doctor.
Yeah.
Your employer is not your doctor, so don't answer that question. And if they're firing you for that, you're gonna win your case in court. Yes, it can take time, but don't surrender. Don't surrender, fight. We will be there with you. I'm doing that fight with you, and I can tell you, we will win that. That's unconstitutional, illegal, unethical, immoral.
Evil.
Sorry?
Evil.
Evil, yeah. So that's why more and more people understand that. And I need your help. I need you to be out there and to do a little bit more for our country. But not for our country, for yourself. Do you want to live in a communist country? Do you want to have more and more of the same that we had the last 19 months? Or you want to go back to your life before COVID-19? Do you want to have more government control over your life or more freedom? And for me, I choose freedom, and I will always fight for freedom. So I believe, and if you speak with somebody that is not sure about this election, tell them, who is Aaron O'Toole now? You have all the policies and it's like Trudeau. And why, you want to get rid of Trudeau and replacing Trudeau by another Trudeau. I call them the Lib Con party, with one leader, Justin O'Toole. So, you know what to do, and I believe that in a week, the mainstream media will be surprised about our result, but we won't be surprised because we know that Canadians are strong people that fought for their country in the past and are ready to do that for the future. But I want to be clear. I'm not promising you that I'll be Prime Minister after this election. No. I'm realistic. This party will grow step by step. And the next step will be to have a bigger percentage of the vote, with a couple of MPs elected in Ottawa, to start that battle of ideas. And the next election will have more people, like the Reform Party 30 years ago. Preston was not the leader of the opposition after one election. It took couples of elections. And so we'll take our time. We won't do any compromise with our principle, and we will always fight for what we believe. And I must admit that that fight and that election will be an historical election, because in the history of our country, I believe that that will be the first time that a young political party, after 2 elections, will be able to have maybe more than 10% of the vote. And we will make history. And that will be the beginning of that freedom revolution, because when tyranny becomes law, revolution becomes our duty.
Yep.
So you can count on us to do that revolution with you. And I will end with a quote that I like, and after that maybe I can answer some of your questions. Danny, it's okay? Yeah. I will answer some questions, and also with our candidates if you have any questions. But I want to end, and people who are following me, you know that I'm always ending my little speech with that quote from John F. Kennedy. Because what he said, John F. Kennedy, in 1961, at his inaugural speech in front of his fellow Americans, that quote is very actual for us today. And he said, in the long history of the world, only few generations have been granted the role of defending freedom in its maximum hour of danger. You are that generation. This is your role, and now is the time. We will defend freedom now and start a common sense revolution. So, who's going to ask the first question? Yes.
Just go to the mic and then everybody will be able to hear us. Okay. Go to the right, sure. Let's not use the left mic. Just line up.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Would the PPC try to work with the CPC if they form a minority government?
Yes and no. Yes, if they want to have our policies, we will support them. But they're leftists, and I doubt that they will take any of our policies. But if they take one policy for us, we will support them. We won't do any compromise with our policies. They just have to be conservative and take some of our policies. Only one will support them. But I doubt I'll be able to work with them, because everything that Rutul is saying is the opposite of us. But if them or the liberals want to take some of our policies and say, okay, Maxime, we'll change the equalization formula and villagers, I will support them.
Maxine, wasn't really concerned. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, no, we appreciate a man who speaks truth. Okay, that's for sure. We're in this situation in the last 20 months, really based on the ideals of the elitists from Davos, Switzerland. We're talking about Klaus Schwab and the 3,000 elites. George Soros is a wingman for Klaus Schwab. Okay. He wrote a book, COVID-19 and the Great Reset.
Yeah, I've read that book.
Right, yes. Yes, you betcha. So my question is this, we have Chrystia Freeland, who is the Deputy Prime Minister of Canada, who is also the second hat. She is also the Finance Minister when Bill Barneau stepped down, okay? And she has a third hat. She sits on the board of directors of the WEF, the World Economic Forum, under Klaus Schwab. So we have Chrystia Freeland, second in command. We have Justin Trudeau addressing the UN last September on a Zoom call, talking about that the pandemic has given us an opportunity to reset the Canadian economy. Okay, so these two people, Canadians, our leaders, first and second in command, are committing treason on our soil. Okay, they're committing treason, and back in the day they would hang these people for treason. Is there any Maxime Bernier, is there any mechanism in Canada, in our politics, in our statutes, in our laws, that these people can be brought to justice?
Okay, so I like your question. The first is about globalism globalists, the UN, international organization. I didn't have time to speak about that during my speech, but thanks for the questions.
Yeah.
We are the only national political party that is against globalists. I said, I don't know how many times, that the UN is a dysfunctional organization. Why? Because the majority, the huge majority of the countries, members of the UN, are communist countries or countries under dictatorship. And we, the Western civilization countries, are a minority there. That's why the UN have always leftist socialist policies. So we are saying no to the UN, no to the globalists. We won't sign the UN Compact on Migration. We won't sign the Paris Accord. The World Health Organization, we will, have policies here for Canada. And actually, Theresa Tam, we're gonna say goodbye to her. And our role as a political party is to put our country first and Canadian first. So when I'm saying that, it is not a slogan, it is a reality. Read our platform. We will cut foreign aid, we'll save $5 billion there, and we'll bring back that money here in Canada. We believe in freedom of speech, we believe in freedom. Like I had a question from a journalist when somebody threw rocks to Justin Trudeau. I said everybody has the right to express their point of view, but it must be done peacefully. And we believe in that. So concerning Trudeau and Freeland, they have the right to their opinion, but I will ask the RCMP to do some investigation there, and if there's something they didn't respect our internal legislation and our law, nobody is above the law in Canada.
That's right.
And speaking about above the law, I said that long time ago, but I just want you to remember that. Trudeau, what he did with SNC-Lavalin, he said, no, you're above the law. And I was the only leader at that time. SNC-Lavalin have a strong investigation, and that didn't happen. And I said, SNC-Lavalin is not above the law, but the Conservative, the Liberal, they were ready to give them a pass, and that's what happened. So everybody must be equal before the law, and if you do something bad, we believe in individual freedom. We believe also in personal responsibility. You must be responsible for your actions in this country.
Good team, bienvenue. Your consistency on being against vaccine passports, respecting people's individual rights has put you up into kind of my second choice. I agree with virtually everything you've said tonight, but pretty much everything. But we've heard things that we've agreed with before, and what's really to stop you from taking our vote and then catering only to the east?
Doing the opposite after.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay. Why? Because I'm usually, like O'Toole, the goal of a politician, like Danny said, you're thinking about the best way to be elected. And you try everything. You do polling, focus group. That's what O'Toole is doing.
Don't
right
worry, I'm not voting conservative.
O'Toole right now, what he's doing, he's looking at polling and everything, and he's doing everything to be elected. And because we are in a socialist era, he's going to the left. So what I'm saying, I won't change. I said something in 2019 that was not popular, and I had 1.6% of the vote, and I'm saying the same thing today. So I won't change. I'm speaking about something that is not popular, because my personal end goal, it is not to be Prime Minister of Canada. My end goal is for our ideas to win the battle of ideas. And maybe I'll be Prime Minister of Canada, but we need to win that battle of ideas. So I'm saying the same thing that I said in the past 10 years, and I will say also the same thing in the future.
Is that a poster child
child of this country. There's some things that have gone wrong in this country that we haven't really held anybody accountable for the mistakes they made at the higher levels in government. And I'm just wondering, these people that basically patted their checks on the backs of the working people, is there anything going to be done to them? Can we not cut their wages back like what they've done to the workforce?
Maybe I think something that you can do is a kind of recall. You have that. I think the Wardrose Provincial Party have that in their platform. You know, if a politician is saying to you something and he's doing the opposite, you can have a petition and asking. And if you have enough people, you have a referendum, and you can ask that person to resign. I think that's something that can be done. Like that politician will think twice before saying something and not doing the same thing. That can be a solution. But for me, the best solution, don't vote for them. If they're flip-flopping every time about something, that's a nice indication that they will do the same thing in the future. So don't waste your vote with a traditional politician. Look at what I said the last 10 years. You know, it's always the same and it won't change because you know, I was in the private sector before being in politics. I'm not a career politician. I jumped into politics at 53 years old. I had a very nice professional career in the financial sector in Montreal. And I decided to be in politics to fight for a smaller government, Ottawa, more freedom. And look at my speeches that I delivered in 2006, 2007. That's the same thing. That's why it was easy for me to start a new political party, because the platform of the PPC is the same platform that I ran on during the leadership of the Conservative Party of Canada in 2017 when I lost by 49%. I said we have great ideas, the Conservative they don't want any of our ideas, so I will start a new party based on these ideas, and that's the same, and we won't change. So if you want a politician to be serious, like I said, if that politician is not able to tell you the same thing in private and in public, don't waste your vote. And if you have a politician that is always flip-flopping, don't give him or her another chance. So for us and our candidates are new in politics. They can do better things. They can work for themselves. Why they are with us? And I'm very proud of that. We have candidates that are, you know, mom at home, truck driver, university professor, teacher, nurses, different backgrounds. And for them, it's the first time in politics. Why? Because they know that this country is going in the wrong direction. And their only goal is to have a better country. And what we are asking to our candidates, do you believe in our principle? Do you want to save this country and put our country first? If it's yes, come on board, you'll be a great candidate. So we will do the same thing when we'll be elected, because we'll have a strong, imagine the mandate. The platform is the same one that we had in 2019. So I'm speaking about that, I spoke about that in 2019, before the election, during the election, after the election, during this election, after this election. When we'll be elected, nobody would be able to tell us that we don't have a mandate, that we have a secret agenda. You know, it's our platform, and that's what we are doing, and that's why our support is growing, because people are looking at us. So the traditional mainstream politician, you know, I don't want to deal with them. Because like you, I don't trust them.
But some of the previous ones have taken the money and run, and they're still running with it, and this population, this country, cannot afford that level of government anymore.
You're right. I agree with you 100%. And if somebody, we have rules here in Canada, we have legislation, nobody's above the law, everybody. So that's why we will look at everything, and we'll do parliamentary commissions to do more investigation, and we'll ask if we have some proof, we'll ask the CMP to look at it. Yes, if somebody, you know, I'm telling you, people must have faith in their electoral system. And right now, the question that I have every time when I'm doing a speech, the question that I have is, Maxime, okay, the politician, you know, we cannot trust them, but also our electoral system. And I want just to tell you about that because it's important. We don't use in Canada the Dominion machines. We never use it. We won't use it for this election. if you don't trust the system, I will ask you, call your candidates, ask them if you want to be a volunteer during the day of the election, you want to be a scrutineer, you have the right to be there, you have the right to look when they will count the votes. That's part of our democracy. And if you're not vaccinated, you will have the right to vote, because I've read something on the internet that, if you don't have the 2 shots, you won't be able to vote. That's not true. Everybody will be able to vote, vaccinated ones or unvaccinated ones, everybody, and you can be present when they do the counting if you want to be a volunteer or a scrutineer. So our electoral system is fair, and I believe in it. The only thing that this year can happen is Election Canada is looking at promoting more mail-in ballots. We don't want that, and we want to say we, the PPC, and we'll have another discussion with Election Canada next week about it. I don't know if they're going to go forward with that, but everybody must be able to go and vote in person. So we have a strong electoral system, and we have politicians that are telling you everything to have your vote, and they won't speak from conviction. And I believe that you put all the other political parties in the same bag, and that's why I said, all the other options suck, and so you have one option is us. So do our best. Thanks for your question.
Thank you very much for an honest reply.
Thank you. So,
Ann wants to introduce a private members bill before you steal the idea.
I know, I'm new, you're not supposed to do this, are you? I think one of the things that your question may be around too is the absolute separation of politicians from the judiciary, and the absolute separation of politicians from the RCMP, and the absolute separation of politicians from healthcare. None of these things should be meddled with. So that's my bill. I'd like to introduce it. Somebody will have to write it up for me.
I'll support it.
We've got 2 more questions. One question, it may come up, it may not, but it's come up at some of the other meetings, and I think we should answer it since we're in a border city, is the Maverick Party. We've got the young fellow, I suspect that you're not voting for the NDP, so I'd like to tell us what you think of the Maverick Party.
Okay, the Maverick Party, thank you very much. First of all, I believe that it is not serious. Why the Maverick Party is not a serious party? When you have a leader that is not the leader, that is an interim leader of a party, and that interim leader won't be a candidate for this election, that's not serious. And when also that interim leader that won't run at this election is saying that I want to be the Bloc Québécois of the West, when it's in Western Canada, you have more than 100 seats, and the Maverick will have only 30-some candidates. So why only 30 candidates? Because they're working with the Conservative. They pick ridings where they cannot hurt the Conservative Party. So that's not serious. And when the Maverick is telling you, we go to Ottawa to fix Ottawa, and our solution to fix Ottawa is not the equalization, it's not pipeline, is a Triple E Senate. Elected, equal, efficient. Preston Manning was speaking about that 35 years ago. And a Triple E Senate, first of all, it won't happen because you need to reopen the Constitution. So it won't happen. But okay, if that happened, what will be the result? You'll have 4 Atlantic provinces, because it will be equal. 4 Atlantic provinces that will have 40% of the seat. Add Quebec and Manitoba, 60% of the seat will go to have-not provinces. What you will create? You will create a new Senate, a new institution with more legitimacy, and with the majority will be have-not provinces. Do you really believe that the Senate will pass law to be sure that we have a smaller government at Ottawa, less equalization money, less redistribution? No, they will do everything to have more money to these have-not provinces. And maybe here in Alberta, you elected the NDP government. Maybe you will elect a socialist senator, so that won't solve anything. The real problem, the real challenge for our constitution is the equalization, pipelines, Paris Accord, decentralization, a radical decentralization, that's our plan. You want more autonomy for Alberta? I want more autonomy for every province, not only Alberta, every province. So the Maverick is not serious, they don't have the solution for you, and they're saying, okay, our platform is a two-track platform. We go to Ottawa, and we'll fix that with the Triple Senate, and if it's not working, and it won't work, we're gonna work for the independence. The Bloc Québécois did anything to promote the independence in Quebec. That was the PQ at the provincial level. The PQ was the official opposition in 1970, in government in 1976, the first referendum in 1981, the second referendum in 1995. So all that was the PQ, not the Bloc Québécois. So if you really want to separate or to have more autonomy for Alberta, you must vote at the provincial level for a party that is for more autonomy, like the Wild Rose Independence Party. Don't waste your time to vote for the Maverick. And in the meantime, you won't be independent tomorrow. You'll have to vote at the federal level. So give the last chance to Canada and vote for us, because we have the best platform for you and for all the country. And I can tell you that if you are a federalist who believe in this country, we have the best platform. If you're a separatist, we have the best platform, because you can give the last chance to this country. And our platform, like I said, it won't change. At this election, we will be more powerful, we will have more influence, and you know, the mainstream media and the other political parties will be in a position to debate our issues. The good news today, CBC, Radio-Canada, because, we are around 10% in the polls, they cannot ignore us anymore, so CBC, Radio-Canada asked today to every leader about us. You know, what do you think about the People's Party at 10%? What are you going to do to stop that? So for the first time, they ask questions about us to the other leaders on the PPC, because they don't have any choice. So imagine when we'll be in Ottawa, the other parties that don't want to discuss our platform, they will be in a position, because we will ask questions, why you don't want to change equalization, why that they will be in a position to come on our field and to play our game. Now they don't play our game, they ignore us, the politicians and the mainstream media. That will stop after this election, and will stop that revolution. So what I'm telling you, don't waste your vote with the Conservative, don't waste your vote with the Maverick.
It's more of a suggestion, and that's to stop referring to yourself as a politician, because you sound like a statesman, which is a subtle but significant distinction. You don't sound like you're playing politics. You sound like you're trying to represent the interests of the people and the state, which is refreshing. I think Randy Hillier might be the only other one in the country right now.
Randy Hillier, I think we might take one more question if somebody hurried down one. I think we're pretty much, we've had, right there, okay, we'll give you a question in 1 second, but speaking of Randy Hillier, Max and the team are going to have their final rally in Strathmore next Friday night between, I think it's 4 and 8 o'clock. Randy Hillier and Patrick Moore are both going to be there to introduce Max. Patrick Moore said that Maxime is the first politician he has endorsed in his lifetime, because he said he thought he was such a sincere, honest person, which is, I think quite a tribute from a man like Patrick Moore, who has basically building a better world, and now he's endorsing Max, which I think is a good choice, of course. But did you have a question there, Dave?
First of all, hi. Would you agree with me that this is not an election? This is mostly a referendum.
Yes.
Whether you want your freedom back, whether you want to end the COVID BS. Sorry, just speaking the truth here. So personally, I don't see it as an election. I see it as a referendum, and we will decide whether or not we want to end that.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay, my second question is, I sent you an email back in, it was 2019, and you called me back within 48 hours, which was pretty impressive. So I said, this guy means business, you know what, I want to work with Max. So, yeah, I do remember and stuff. So do you still return your calls within 48 hours?
But you can write to me at maxime@peoplespartyofcanada.ca, and it will take maybe a week before I answer my email. But we are a small party, and yeah, that's the fact that we are growing, and we have only 5 people that are working with us at the head office. But I can tell you, we have a lot of volunteers all across the country, like you, like everybody, that are helping us to build this party. So I want to thank everybody. And speaking about helping, maybe you want to say something about it?
Yes. It takes, what do they say? It takes cash to buy whiskey, and we're going to pass the buck around as we're running an expensive campaign. It takes money, it takes workers. We're